Hi everybody, and welcome back to the channel. And at last I've managed to get another video out, and this week's video is all about a camera called the Holgon. Not the Holga, the Holgon, and it's this camera. Now this camera is a modified version of this camera, the Holga 120N, the Bowtech 120 roll film. Now this camera has stood the test of time for its simplicity. It takes some wonderful pictures, timeless looking pictures. I absolutely love the Holga. I love its simplicity. With this camera you've just got the one shutter speed. Now it does vary between camera to camera. It can be anywhere from 60th to 100th of a second. Some cameras have two apertures, some have one where the other aperture doesn't work, and the camera works, and it's dependent on the film's latitude to over and under exposure. I wouldn't use one of these cameras using a positive slide film, but it's not a camera for everybody, but it's a really nice camera to use, and it does take some lovely pictures. So what they've done, they've taken a Holga and they've added a shutter, electronic shutter, and you can see at the top it's there. The shutter speeds run from B 1 second up to 125th of a second, and they're altered by turning that knob, and I'll show you that in a minute. And the object of the exercise with the camera now is to actually go out with it and just see how I get on, how it works, see what sort of pictures it takes, because all the lenses on the Holgas all vary. There's some, some are more blurred at the edges than others, some are sharper because they're just a plastic lens. But just see how I get on with it, and my thoughts on whether this camera's worth buying. I think I paid £130 for mine, and I don't know whether somehow by adding a electronic shutter, etc., makes this camera a little bit over-engineered, and it takes it too far away from the original concept of the actual original Holga. Now I got this camera from a company called Helicoid Cameras. They're based in Japan. I don't think they have a website, but you can buy their modified cameras. They do other cameras from their Instagram account. Just contact them through that and just see if they're still doing this camera. It's about just over a year old. Now there's been 2 or 3 reviews of this camera on the internet, but this is just my take on it. And I'm gonna, after I've taken the pictures and shown you them, I'm going to then let you know what I think about this camera, whether, as I say, it's worth paying extra money as against the original Holga. Right, we'll take a closer look at the camera now, and I'll show you how they've modified the camera and put this electronic shutter inside it. Right, let's take a closer look at this Holgon camera. First of all, let's zoom out a little bit, and we can compare sizes with the original Holga. It's pretty much the same, a little bit taller and maybe a little bit wider, but to all intents and purposes I think they're about the same weight. So the modifications really haven't added any weight to the camera, which is good. Right, zoom in a little bit more. Now the shutter speed dial on this camera is set at the top here. That's it there, and it runs from 125th of a second down to 1 second and then B, and it's got intermediate shutter speeds such as 20th, 45th, 90th, which is very handy, and you just simply adjust them by turning the dial. To turn the camera on, I put a little sticker on there, because if you turn this camera on and forget to turn it off, you're going to run your batteries down fairly quick. So to make sure I don't forget, I've put that little label on there. So it's off at the moment. I turn it on, I just simply push that lever there. We've got the wind knob there, the same as the other Holga. And at the back, we just got the window. If it's set to 16 there, we would put in the mask that's for 6 by 4.5 negatives, and that way you get 16 exposures. But I've got the 6 by 6 mask, so I keep it set to 12. So I open the back, we can see the hopefully the shutter, which is right down at the front there. And if we compare that with the Holga shutter, which is just a spring, you find it like that. So no batteries there, which I think could be an advantage. And then this one, with it's on, there's the shutter. You can see it firing. There we go. So whatever shutter speed I set on the camera, that's a slower speed, it'll set. So that's very good. Now, the only thing with this camera is the batteries and what powers the shutter are underneath the mask, and they're set there. Now, the problem that could occur if you're out with this camera and say you've shot 5 or 6 frames and the batteries fail, the only thing you can do is wind the film up, take the film out to save those 6 shots that you've taken, put new batteries in, and then put another new roll of film in, and then you're good to go again. So it is something worth bearing in mind. If you go out with this camera, wherever you're going, make sure you take spare batteries and spare rolls of film. So that's basically how the camera is powered, and then it's just the same as the other Holgas. To put the back on, you simply put it on like that, push the catches across, and what I always recommend with these is put a little bit of tape to keep the back tight, so we do get slightly sharper pictures. And the other thing is it won't allow the catches at either side from inadvertently opening, which won't be a good idea because your back will fall off. So that's it really. They've done away with the B on the underside of the Holga. This one's got a B setting there. You use that lever. It's not there. It's controlled by the shutter speed being set to B, and we've still got a tripod socket there. You can see I put some numbers on there to correspond with the distance scales on the actual lens itself. The lens is a 60mm. I think they're a plastic lens, but they do produce some really nice pictures if you get it right. And it's got this is the same as the other Holga. It's got settings for setting distances at infinity. This is really stiff, and that's groups, and that's single groups. That's a single person. That's your closest focus. So again, just the same as the Holga. The viewfinder is just the same, a square, blurry viewfinder, but it's enough to get composition. And all in all, it seems to be a really nice camera with a shutter speed. But I won't know until I've actually tried it and see what I think. I don't know. I just got this gut feeling that they've probably maybe over-engineered this as against the concept of the original one. But I'll try it and give it a go and see what exposures I can come up with. Anything else? Can't think about what else now really. Oh yeah, the Chinese or Japanese writing at the back. I don't know what that means. If somebody could tell me, I'd like to know. The shutter I've noticed on this camera is very, very light. If you just listen to it, I hardly touched it. So that could be a problem, but I'll just try and be aware of that. The other thing I wanted to show you, that the camera also has got Wi-Fi built in, and it creates a Wi-Fi bubble around it, and you can use this remote XY app that you can get on your phone, and you click on that, join the network. Is it on? Yeah, it's connecting. And we've got this app now where we can control the shutter speeds, find the shutter speeds from the app. I'm not sure about this. If I put this in B and I press this, I have to keep my hand on the shutter all the time. Now I've seen it on the internet where somebody has kept his finger pressed on that and pressed close, but with mine it doesn't work. And I've seen another person use it and he can't get the app working, but I just think it's overkill, is that, because all that to fire your shutter, especially in bulb mode, when the old Holga, I'll just put this back on, you could buy, and you can still get them. You can still get these. It's an attachment that goes over the front of the camera, like that, and then to fire the shutter, I just simply press the cable release. So all that thing with an app and that, I don't know really. I don't think I'd ever use that. Why they didn't incorporate something that you could use a cable release, I don't know, but it would have been a good idea. Anyway, that's it. That's the camera. Let me go out now and take some pictures and see what I come up with, and I'll give you my final thoughts about the Holgon. Just one other thing before I go out with the camera. If you look in the viewfinder, and I don't know if you're going to see this, but if I put it on, say, B, or some of the slower speeds, if I fire the shutter, you see a little light coming on up there. Now, whether you're supposed to see that in the viewfinder when you take the picture, which would be great because it would confirm that you've pressed the shutter, but you can't see it. So I don't know. I've no idea why that is there. I can't see it any good as for a self timer really, because you'd have to be stood in front of the camera to see it. So I've no idea what that's for. Again, if anybody knows, let me know. Right, I will go out with the camera now and take some pictures with it. Right, so all ready to go now. Camera bag with bits and bobs in. I've got the Holgon camera loaded with Fuji across. I rate that 100 ISO. I'm going to use the instant light meter, the Seaconic Studio Deluxe 3, and just take some instant light readings, because with this camera I can control the exposure. I can't control the aperture because that's fixed at f13, but I do have a choice of a shutter speed, so we'll just see how we get on with it. And after I've finished taking the pictures, when we come back, I'll give you my thoughts on this camera itself and what I think about it. So we'll set off now and see what we can find. Right, I think I've found my first shot, and it's this statue of a pig on a plinth, and the weather's starting to get dull now. Typical, I think it's going to rain soon, but anyway, we'll carry on. I'm taking a light meter reading with a Seaconic. Now, if you can see, the needle's just above 80, so I set that there above 80, and then I read off the scale at the bottom here. Looking at that, f13 is between 16, f16, f11, and it's looking round about 45th of a second. It's getting a little bit brighter, so I'm going to set the camera up now and use that exposure, and we'll see what we come up with. Right, first thing I don't like about the camera, I've just taken an exposure inadvertently, but it's so light. There's a shutter button at the side. Anyway, let's take this picture. Right, that's that exposure. Now I'm going to definitely turn this off, so I can't inadvertently press that shutter. It's very, very light. So that's the first picture. It's lovely to see. Spring has arrived. We've got the daffodils out, ducks and swans in the water, cattle grazing, the green hedges budding, Absolutely beautiful. All we need is a bit more sun. I might take a picture of this, we'll have a little look. I do apologise, it's not there's no cattle there. I think the llamas, whatever you call them, long necks, etc. So I'm going to take a picture, 60th of a second at f13. I hope that's done it, I'm not sure, I've never heard a click or anything. That's the problem with this camera, is I don't know if it's taking a picture or not. You just can't hear anything when you press the shutter button. I think the later models, they added a vibration to it when you press the shutter, but on this model it's not very good at all. There's no feel with the shutter. When you press it you can't hear anything, you don't know if you've taken the picture, so I don't know if I've taken this or not, but we'll see. This is what I really love about Otley, some of these old buildings, cobble streets. It just takes you back in time, and there's some very old buildings as well. I've taken a few shots of this down the street over the years, night time, daytime, various cameras. This building dates to 1733, so that's a very, very old building. Some of it looks derelict now, but I'm sure it'll get done up. But as I say, it just makes it a very interesting place to walk around. So if you ever visit here, you know, have a walk around some of the streets, you'll see some interesting stuff. Will I take a photograph of this? You know, I might do, all the sun's blasting through there, might get a bit of flare, but it might be worth a shot. I think I'll use my little tripod for this, and let's just see what happens. Get the camera really down low. But I'll get it set up and I'll show you what I'm doing. Right, I've calculated the exposure to be 1/60th of a second. That's that picture take. See how it turns out. You got to try, so you never know what you're going to get, different things. Right, move on. Right, might take a picture of this whole bike. Take the light reading. It's 1/25th, so it's fastest speed at the fixed aperture of f13. So I'll take the picture and see what this looks like. Right, I couldn't resist not taking a picture of the weir at Otley. I'll see what we can come up with the Holga. Over the years I've taken some of my best pictures of this weir using the pinhole camera and the Holga. But let's see how the Holga performs, where I've got a little bit more control of the shutter speed. Now the last time I was here, if you remember, I did a photograph with a large format camera at night, and that turned out okay, so let's hope that this one doesn't disappoint. So the exposure is 125 at f13, so I'll get the shot taken now and see what we come up with. This is quite amazing that how they've done that. I'm going to take the picture of it, but I think it probably will be better as a colour picture, but we'll see what we can come up with. I like the way the seat's off centre, it just seems balanced. So I'll take a light meter reading and see what we can come up with. Let's have a look, see what we're getting. 1860. The exposure will be 1/60th at f13. So I'll get the camera out and get the picture taken. I'm getting a little bit used to the camera now, just listening to that tiny click on the shutter, but I don't remember hearing that this was a problem with this camera, that people couldn't tell whether to take the exposure or not. Now I think it's been altered, I might be wrong here, but I did hear that when you press the shutter button it makes the camera just vibrate slightly after you've taken the shot, so you know you've taken it. The camera has a red light, which I showed you previously in the viewfinder, but unfortunately you can't see that when you take the pictures, or that doesn't give you any confirmation of the exposure being taken. So as I say, this is an earlier model. They might have improved it, but it certainly needs improving because it makes it very difficult to use when you don't know if you press the shutter or successfully taking the picture. So I am getting a little bit more used to it, so we'll just move on now. I think I've got about 3 shots left. As I say, I've wasted probably 3 negatives because of the shutter problem, so we'll just see. Now that building just up there is what we call the White House, and it's built inside the Chevron forest with all the trees etc surrounding it. So I'm going to try and take a picture lowest down to get some of these cobbles in, and hopefully get that picture in the background. So see what we can come up with. /60th of a second. And I actually got 2 people walking on the cobbles, walking up hand in hand, and might make an interesting picture. So remember to wind on. I just love the look of this, the patterns, the shapes with the chest of drawers this side, and then this fireplace, and the white windows. It just makes a great pattern for a shop front. So I'm going to take a picture of this. This is where the Holgon does come in. The shutter speed at f13 wants to about 1/45th of a second, and you can set that with this camera. It's got some really nice intermediate speeds, so I'll frame it up and take the picture, and we'll just see how it turns out. So that's my 11th shot, and I heard a definite click of the shutter, so I know I got that photograph. And one more shot, so let's carry on walking about. Right, now if you're a subscriber to my channel, you've no doubt noticed that I haven't been posting many videos. Well, I've had another back problem, but that seems to have cleared up now. Been doing exercise, etc. And I got this horrendous bug that's going about, dizziness, temperature, checked for COVID, it wasn't that, but I've heard that it is going about, and it's really awful, and that lasted for not far off 3 weeks, on and off. It seemed to go, then it came back. And then the weather has been absolutely awful. I've never known as much rain, and it's just not inspired me to go out. I normally like the winter light, but there's not been any light. It's just been wet and dull. So this is a breath of fresh air now coming to spring, little more light coming through, and I seem to be getting my inspiration back, and I'm really enjoying going out with this Holgon camera. And I've got a lot of other things in the pipeline, so I haven't packed it in. It's just circumstances sometimes control your life. Right, as I say, one more shot and then we'll go home and develop the film. Right, I've just taken the picture of this while we had a little bit more light. It just come out again, it's coming in and out, but I like the way the reef, it's a reef of eggs because it is Easter. I like how it works with the square panes on the actual window itself. So I took a light meter reading, and it was 1/30th of a second at the Holgon's f13 aperture, and hopefully that's going to give me a decent exposure. Now this is where the Holgon is better than the Holga, in the fact that we can set these slower shutter speeds. Now with the Holga, you're quite stuck, you can't change them, it's all fixed. So the advantage of this camera, the Holgon, is you can use them in lower light conditions. But we'll see. That was the last shot. Go home and develop the film, although by now you will have seen the pictures that I've taken, so you'll know if they've turned out or not. And then I'll finally give you my thoughts on what I think about the Holgon camera and whether it's worth buying as against the original Holga. Right, we'll go get this film developed now. Right, so after going out and using the Holgon camera, what do I think about it and would I recommend it? The biggest problem I have with this camera is that it's a Holga 120N that's had an electronic shutter fitted to it, and I just can't get my head around why you would want to do that. After all, the Holga 120N is a cult camera. There's thousands of these cameras sold worldwide. The pictures that these cameras can take are absolutely beautiful. This camera will take just the same pictures as this one, but this one will cost you quite a bit more. Even photographers such as Michael Kenner use the original Holga 120N. He's even created a book of images that he's taken with his Holga cameras. So I can't see the advantage of adding an electronic shutter to the camera. The only advantage that I can think of is that you would be able to use this camera in more lighting conditions than the original Holga 120N, and that is a low light condition where it's very cloudy and dull, or in low lit interiors. But these cameras aren't designed for that, so I think they picked the wrong camera to put the shutter in, really. The camera is far from perfect. It's complicated to use. Not complicated, but you have to go through different steps. You have to turn the shutter on, you have to take a light reading, set the shutter speed to correspond with the f13 aperture, and then take the picture. Whereas the concept of the original Holga was to make a camera cheap, which it was, and a camera easy to use, which it is. So you know, they've just over-engineered it, in my opinion. And the fact that it uses batteries, it's dependent on batteries. You know, if your batteries go and you're halfway through a roll of film with this camera, you have no option but to wind that roll up and waste frames so you can get to the battery compartment to change the batteries. And if you go out for the day using this camera and you run out of batteries, that's it, it won't work because it's battery dependent, whereas the original Holga will carry on regardless. And the thing about the shutter is it's so feather light, you just touch it and it fires. it's just so feather touch, and there's no real feel to it whatsoever. And sometimes when you're out and there's a lot of ambient noise and you fire the shutter, you don't hear that click, so there's no confirmation whatsoever that you've taken a picture. So what you end up doing, and I did in the video, I wasted I think it was about 3 or 4 frames because I wasn't sure whether the camera had fired. So I just wound on and took a second picture, and that's because, as I say, I couldn't hear the shutter. Whereas with the original Holga, you couldn't mistake when you're taking the picture. So they're the things that I'm not keen on this camera. And the other thing is as well, can you believe they've put Wi-Fi into this camera, Wi-Fi into a Holga, and that means that you can download an app. It's called, I think it's Remote XY, and you then can control this camera from your phone. You can take selfies with it, you can open and close the shutter. But you know, the problem that I've found with it, and the problem I've heard other people say, they can't always get this app to work with the camera, so it's very hit or miss whether that works. So again, it's just over-engineered the camera. So I would say, for anybody who's interested in the camera look, the Holga look, don't buy this camera. Buy the original Holga 120N. For the price of this, you could buy 3 of these. Buy this and enjoy the Holga experience. I just think that helicoid cameras have done a great job with the shutter, but I think they've gone a bridge too far and spoiled the experience of using the Holga camera. Right, that is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, a like. Better still, subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell. If you've got any questions, leave them below and I'll get back to you. And as I always say, stay safe, and I'll see you all in the next video. The Holgon 120 film camera.